Sorry.
Do they still do that? They don't stop the clock at midnight anymore.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, do they still do that?
they have to.
Yeah, I know they do, but I thought they got their act together.
Yeah, they have to schedule another session and go in.
See, this could have been the shortest meeting on record.
I'm
But we're gonna
sorry.
start.
I'm sorry.
Here, move over your names over here.
I apologize.
Call the meeting to order if the audience and board would please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Treasurer Fiedel, would you please call roll?
Yes, Madam Clerk. Trustee Mohica.
Here.
Trustee Cascarella.
Present.
Trustee Brewer. Trustee Bowen. Treasurer Fiedel is present. Clerk Clark.
Present.
Supervisor Fletcher. You have a quorum, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Motion please to excuse Fletcher, Brewer, and Bowen.
So, go ahead.
So
Support.
It's been moved and seconded to excuse members Fletcher, Brewer, and Bowen. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. The MLK proclamation,
if you do anything,
we just need a motion to
Approve it.
approve it, please.
So moved.
support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the MLK Day proclamation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. The agenda. Consider a motion.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to accept the agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We'll move down to open the hearing on the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. If there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to it. You go to the mic, and if you could please just give your name and address.
Sure. Hi, I'm Abby Deno, and I actually live on the east side of Lansing at 432 North Clements Avenue. And I'm here tonight to talk about invasive species in Delta Township. And so I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with.
Okay, are you, this discussion now is on the Parks Master Plan?
Okay, and so is ecology a part of the master plan for the parks? The ecosystem at Grand Woods in particular is what I would like to speak on. Preserving the native species that exist in the parks.
Okay, you can just state your concerns and your position. That'd be great.
Okay, thank you. So I've been talking to different councils, the Ingham County Parks Department. I've talked to also the Lansing City Council about the issue of invasive species in our parks and in our ecosystem, and about the decline in native species. And so tonight I wanted to talk about one in particular that's on the Grand River in Delta Township, and that I have actually been in contact with some of the top experts at the state about, and that we would like to make some moves on in this winter, because it comes up first thing in March, and what it kills is the trilliums, Dutchman's breeches, spring ephemerals. And this is just one of many invasive species, but what I wanted to talk to the Parks Department about is how the Parks Department has directly spread this invasive species and actively aided in the killing of the native species, which are so important to the ecosystem. And basically, I just want to ask people if they're familiar with these issues. Are you familiar with the native species of Michigan, such as the Dutchman's breeches?
That's not, that's not interaction, but with the board is not part of the discussion now. You can talk just about your concerns and what you hope is included in the master plan.
Okay.
And
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm still getting used to this. So I
That's okay.
appreciate your help because I just feel like I'm asking for help, basically, like watching what's happening in the parks and watching the Parks Department aid in it and not stop it. So what I hope would be included in the master plan of the parks would be education for the Parks Department about native versus invasive species. And it's a dire issue that they need education on as soon as possible. I mean, I would be happy to talk with them about it. I have lots of friends in the ecological circles, including Bill Schneider at the Michigan Wild Type Nursery. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's one of the top in the state as well. And Phyllis Higman with Michigan State University. And I'm actually going to be working with them trying to find solutions for this very dire problem. And so education is really the main solution that I can find right now. I've talked to Lee Miller about this issue already, and Marcus, and we're trying to come up with a task force for it, but everybody says there's no resources available. And then I see the Parks Department using resources for all kinds of other things. So when we are stewards of these endangered species, which the DNR does not call them endangered. I think they call them protected or threatened, but they're very much endangered and they live in your parks, in your area. And I've probably seen the trillium population at Grand Woods Park dwindle to a third of what it was just 5 years ago. So the speed at which it's happening is of the most concern for me. And so I'm hoping that some really good signage at the Grand Woods Park or at Delta Mills, which is another area where the little celandine flowers will come up in the spring and you'll see a monoculture of them where it used to be trilliums, Dutchman's breeches, trout lilies, and the other iconic spring ephemeral species. And in March, you'll see these low to the ground green leaves just carpet the riverbank at Delta Mills, at Hunter's Orchard, is that one of them? And especially at the Grand Woods. And then little yellow flowers will bloom all across this carpet of green. And so what I've witnessed in the Grand Woods is that particular species has doubled in the last 3 years to about 60 acres of a monoculture in the Grand Woods. And so I am inviting people to come out with me this spring to look at it, to learn, and I would love to be able to host educational sessions for the Parks Department and have them put some resources toward actually trying to figure this out to save the species that are still there because they're absolutely precious. And I have observed these species my entire life. I have seen nothing but a sharp decline. So if any of you love the spring ephemerals, this is an absolutely important issue, not just for them, but for other animals too. The deer cannot eat this lesser celandine. It would be like if the only food available to you was going to give you diarrhea and stomach upset. They cannot digest it. It's not just the plants that are dying, but the animals will die too. And so that's why me and my friends are so concerned about it. And I wanted to talk to you about it this evening.
Okay. And have you been before the Parks Commission?
No, this is my first time being before this commission. Like I said, I've talked to Lee Miller and Marcus about it. And we are trying to figure something out, but really it has to be a wider effort where the entire park staff is involved because as I said, they're the ones that are mowing over it. And they're the ones, the lesser celandine has lived on the riverbanks for many years. And it finally, during a couple of dry seasons, creeped up the bluff, hit the path, and then the vehicles took it. And that was when it doubled in 3 short years. And so if we continue this pattern, I'm just extrapolating in my mind what will happen to the native species. And so I just feel like it's a very urgent issue and we don't have long. And I want to make people aware of it because it is very important, even though a lot of people, like I said, can't identify between an invasive or native species, aren't really aware. You might walk through the woods and see a lot of greenery. Well, those vines that you see at Fenner Nature Center are Oriental bittersweet. Once again, there's Oriental bittersweet at the Grand Woods too, but just to be able to identify these species and to understand the importance of them and how these other ones do not support the wildlife. And it's actually causing a mass extinction, which if you've never heard of the 6th great mass extinction, I was at the Chicago Field Museum over the summer with my son and it's right up there on the wall. And it does include humans too. And all the scientists agree that it's happening. So having the parks focus on the ecology and preserving species, I feel like is a very important thing if we want to have this going into the future.
Okay, thank you. We'll take your comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Hello, good evening. I am Trevor Youngquist. I'm a commissioner-elect for Eaton County, and I was speaking to some neighbors from Bretton Woods and from Marmore about the proposed improvements for Grand Woods and for Sharp Park. Folks are very excited about what's going in at Sharp Park. I think that what we saw in the master plan is that folks are really excited about more pickleball space, excited to see that at Sharp Park, a sledding hill with expanded capacity. I think that a lot of these things echo the need for a destination park here in Delta Township. You know, we think of what is that park over in Lansing that I grew up by? It's embarrassing that I'm blanking on it now, but Hawk Island, a destination park for Ingham County. I think that Delta deserves that too. One concern that I did want to bring up for Grand Woods is I think that we're all familiar with how popular that park is for disc golfing, attracts people from across the region. Just making sure that we're not overdeveloping that. I think that a lot of people appreciate kind of the pristine, you can kind of get out into nature even though you're just a few steps from your house. So all for accessibility, making sure that those paths are level, but any kind of paving of paths in that back part, definitely paving parking lots, but as you get farther back into the park, just keeping that pristine and kind of secluded feeling. So really excited to see what's in that master plan, and neighbors had nothing but good feedback. So thank you for giving us the
You're
opportunity.
welcome. Trevor, what's your address?
928 Robbins Road.
Thank you.
Yeah,
All right, and thank you for your comments.
thank you.
Are there any other members of the audience that would like to speak to the master plan? If not, public hearing is closed. Thank you very much for taking time to come and share. Move on down. We have communications, the WRRF update, and Eaton County Drain Office. There was a hearing or a meeting about Bel Air Hills with their drain, and it was a citizens driven. That's what started it. And so you have an update on that. Because I believe they'll be getting an assessment at some point here.
Sure they will.
And down to consent agenda. Is anyone?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Treasurer Fito, would you please call roll?
Trustee Bowen, trustee Brewer, trustee Mohica,
Yes.
trustee Cascarella,
Yes.
treasurer Fito is a yes, clerk Clark,
Yes,
supervisor Fletcher, you have 4 votes.
thank you. And then moving on to new items of business. We get down to it. We have final consideration of the rezoning request in case number 10-2116. Matt, do you want to speak to that, please?
So this is a rezoning request for the northwest corner of Davis Highway and Canal Road. Request is to rezone it from AG2 to industrial. Our zoning ordinance requires that utilities be present to rezone a property to industrial. I think originally we didn't think that utilities were available, but then once we did, the property came up for sale and somebody wants to now change it, which would make that entire half circle there under Davis. Once that property were to be developed, would kind of open up the rest of it, which is also planned for industrial to go industrial. The applicant, who I don't believe is here, but he doesn't have a firm use in mind. I mean, you always have to imagine the worst case scenario. He's kind of most seriously talked about storage units again there. But I mean, I guess the important thing would be to bring the utilities there. And
do storage units classify as industrial?
yeah, it's an industrial. It's allowed in industrial and commercial by special land use permit.
Anyone have questions for me?
No.
Thank you. Entertain a motion. Karen?
Yeah, that's fine. I move that the Delta Township Planning Commission recommend. Second, make sure.
No,
I'm right.
that's not really the right.
Oh,
Yeah.
That is
Recommend
right.
approval.
Case number 10.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, case number
16.
10.
You're
Yeah,
right.
thank you. I was
Sorry.
like, am I
No,
wrong?
you're right.
I move, excuse me, I begin again. I move that the Delta Township Planning Commission recommend approval of case number 10-21-16 to the Township Board for the proposed rezoning of parcels 040-050-505-341-00 and 040-505-351-000 from AG2 agricultural residential to I industrial for the following reasons. One, the request meets the general standards for amendments to the official zoning map found in section 1604 parentheses B of the 2017 Delta Township zoning ordinance. And number two, the use is consistent with the future land use recommendations of the 2013 comprehensive plan.
Okay, thank you. The motion needs wordsmithing because this is not a planning commission vote.
Right.
So it needs to be wordsmithed and we can do that. But the gist of it is it needs to say that we either accept the recommendation or because this says to move the planning commission recommendation.
Right.
So we'll know that we will wordsmith that for the minutes. That's okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And then we have the Delta Market Drive sanitary sewer lift station. Rick, do you want to, Ernie, whoever? Both? You just can't say neither.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. In your packet, I included a map of the where the Delta Market Drive lift station is. It's basically over just north of Walmart. There's several large properties in that area that are looking at potential residential developments. One of them being north of Saginaw, part of the Delta Crossing, which would have been phase 3 of that project before it got hung up. So we had looked at making sure we had capacity for those housing units as part of that. Well, now with all this additional inquiries, we're talking some significant numbers south of Saginaw. And so we need to take a little deeper dive into that whole lift station service area and what it's going to take to be able to serve those at the density that they're requesting. So we've got a proposal from our consultant who's helping us with our modeling, hydraulic modeling, to kind of dig into those questions and make sure we do a thorough job of master planning that area so that we know what's going to trigger an upgrade, what that upgrade needs to be, and is it properly sized for the build out of the service area. So.
Okay, any questions?
No.
Okay, so we'll entertain a motion to move on that. Andrew?
I move that the Delta Township Board approve the proposal from OHM Advisors in an amount not to exceed $30,000 to complete the sewer master plan for the Delta Market Drive sanitary sewer lift station service area. And further, that the township manager be authorized and directed to execute said agreement.
For support?
Support.
It's been moved and seconded to recommend to approve the proposal from OHM Advisors. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And now, Manager Reed is on out of town, but he is going to come on and give us his manager's update.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Just a really quick update. On December 14th, Ernie West did represent us at the Eaton County Road Summit. So I just wanted to update you on a couple of things relevant to the township. First of all, you may remember our our old TSC manager, Greg Losh, has moved on to another position in MDOT. So our new local Lansing area TSC manager is Aaron Chilati. So we will continue our coordination with MDOT moving forward, which we do try to have regular meetings with them also with the projects going on. A couple projects that got moved to 2023 that were scheduled for 2022 from the Eden County Road Commission, a local paving project in the Verndale neighborhood, then also Delta Market Drive, the south portion to St. Joe. So they'll be moved into 2023 and constructed. Same thing with Kreitz Road from M43 to Willow. So they are hoping to do that in 2023. So that had some project delays and contractor not holding pricing. So hopefully that will also get done in 2023. The local road projects for 2023 have been released to us for review. So Ernie and his crew will again review that list and move forward. I did notice of note that it did appear Clark Road was on that for trustee Cascarilla. And then also of note, specifically for Saginaw Highway, the MDOT Boulevard project is still in their scoping, but they will not have money for design till 2024. So that is looking probably like a 2027, 2028 construction, most likely. So that is a key project that the CIA will also work on, is try to work in tandem with MDOT in terms of providing input so that we can get a good design on that section. So again, that's a boulevard project that you've heard about from Broadbent to the freeway. And I guess that's the bulk of my report, but I just wanted to finish with a couple of thank yous, or finish the year with a couple of thank yous. It's really been an extraordinary year. If you think back to this time last year, we were just working through what the new GM plant would be in Altium. So we hadn't even submitted for our $33 million in infrastructure. Really extraordinary work to push that and get into a position which has now grown to probably over $40 million in infrastructure work. We hadn't gone out to bid yet on the Worth plant. After 3 or 4 years of development and design on that project, last year around this time, we were 9 firefighters short. So we worked together for really a couple different things. We had the innovative striker lease, which really helps us standardize and provide reliability on our equipment. We worked with the union and the township to develop the basic EMT program and paying for people to go to paramedic school to get some more bodies in the door. And then, building off of that, we really developed some momentum, which, ended in our historic 6-year labor contract. We had a great summer with a lot of new parks events. We're really trying to revamp our HR department and in my office. So I just wanted to recap a lot of those things. It's been a really extraordinary year. I really want to take a moment to really thank the board for their leadership and support. I think, we are completing some great project, and your support of staff and their projects like the one we just discussed in terms of the studies and that type of thing is really important to have your support on those, and especially on the big projects like the Worth plant, those types of things. It makes it a lot easier. It's very critical to have your support. And then secondly, to my staff, especially the directors, but all the way down the line throughout the entire township with everything that's gone on. It's been like I said, a year like no other. And we really couldn't do it without each and every one of our 160 employees that work hard each day. On top of the day-to-day duties that they have. So I feel very thankful for all of them. And I feel like, we should all be proud in Delta Township that we have such a great staff and elected leaders to lead this township. So that's all I have, Madam Clerk, but happy to answer any questions.
And thank you to you, Brian. We appreciate your leadership. Any other comment?
Yeah, Brian, thank you very much for those comments. You did recap really what the entire year poses challenges to the township and staff, especially. It's been an extraordinary challenge. And I know every board member is cognizant of that. And we appreciate it. And we know the residents appreciate that too. So I can't say enough and give enough kudos to staff. And that goes the full breadth of everybody. I mean, that's from the first responders sitting back there, standing back there, to the field staff, to the central office, to the administrative. They've just done an outstanding, stellar job. I'm proud of them. I think the entire board's proud of them. And I just want to let you know that we feel that way. At least I believe I speak for the board on that. So we take great pride in every one of you. So thank you, Brian, for your leadership. It's much appreciated.
Thank you.
No, I think Dennis said it well, so no, nothing further to add. Absolutely agree.
And I just want to give a shout out to Eaton County Sheriffs too. We couldn't be what we are in the township without our partners from Eaton County. So thank you, Lieutenant Troy Bell, and all your team. Okay, let's move on. Committee of the Whole, we have are you up again, Ernie? The well project.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick update tonight. You probably recall, a few years ago, we set about trying to get ourselves off of the raw water wells that were kind of a legacy from when we produced our own water. In '95, we connected to the Board of Water and Light and have had to maintain those wells. And so with all your support, we're able to make a southern connection down on Kreitz and Lansing Road and get that tested out and do a lot of legwork to prove to Eagle that we had a reliable secondary connection. We actually have multiple secondary connections through some existing ones with the board themselves and the city limits. But the last kind of piece of that was to get those wells plugged and kind of fully abandoned. And earlier this year, you all approved an agreement with Northern Pump and Well here in Lansing, and they completed the work this fall, came in on time and on budget. And now we have all these wells plugged. And so I've prepared correspondence to send to Eagle. Actually went out the other day, basically telling them that we were done and that this basically closes this issue. So I just wanted to bring this to you just for information and let you know we appreciate the support in achieving that, and really just like saying that it's a pretty big deal. It may not seem like much, but I know Rick probably sleeps a little easier at night knowing he doesn't have to turn those wells on in any case, and we've got another supply. And so yeah, it takes 2, 3, 4 years for some of these things to draw to conclusion, but this was definitely a successful one in my books, and I just wanted to kind of give you a final report on how we ended up. So
Great.
I have a question.
Thank you for that. Any
I have a question.
questions or comments?
I do.
Yes, Karen.
I know it says staff will determine what should be done with the well sites, but what could you do with the well sites being plugged up? How could you?
So each one's a little unique, and some of them are appended to our other properties. So we have a couple that are along the pathway or along a park or other township properties. And so we may, in all likelihood, want to keep those properties and maybe tear down the building. There's a building associated with each of these. So instead of they're already fairly old, and instead of trying to upkeep those, if they can't be repurposed for any reason, instead of keeping up with them, the idea would be to maybe tear those down. Probably the first pressing one we'll look at is the one over on Elmwood, near the Elmwood Elementary School. That's right in the front yard of that school, and the parcel really comes up close to that building. And so they're going to be doing some renovations, some building at that site. That may be one that we bring back to you and say, we don't have any future use for this site. You know, once we tear it down, it's just going to be lawn. Why don't we turn it back to the, kind of give it back to the school district, and maybe they can use it for some reason. So we're gonna look at each one case by case, and then we'll involve you before any final decisions are made. But staff will kind of get together and figure out, is there another use for the site that we need, another use for the building, and if there is, we'll try to incorporate that. But some of these sites are kind of one-offs by themselves, and we have no, without it being a well, we don't really have any use for the site. So we'll look at each one by themselves.
Okay, thank you.
What, Ernie or Rick, what's the building right along Carrier Creek at the bridge? Is that a well site? Or is that a lift station? You know what I'm talking about?
Which road?
It's on the south side of the bridge. There's a building there. I assumed it's ours. Maybe it's not.
If it's one just east of Garfield on the pathway, that would be well house 11.
Okay. Yeah, all right. I was just curious.
No.
Okay. That's it. Thank you very much for taking, that's a big project, and it is.
Yep.
We are so much better off purchasing water and having made that decision to move this direction.
Yep.
It is good for the township. Well, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Are there any other comments?
No.
If not, we are adjourned at 6:37.
New Year.
Thank you.